Good evening, my lovelies. Welcome. I'm Lady McCreepster. Be forewarned, my dears, this following tale by PF McGrail may be a little risque, and it also carries a trigger warning for sexual assault. If any of these things bother you, do have a listen to some of the other tales on this channel and this podcast. For the rest of you, though, it's time. So come now, my dears. Lean in closer, and we'll begin. It had always come easy to me, if I'm being honest. Honest or arrogant. At the time, I saw them as the same thing. Take that for what it's worth. Her tits were the first things I noticed. She did it on purpose, of course. They all did. I always asked 2 questions. Age, how many minutes is she worth pursuing? She was a 1913 on this scale, which made her quite an ambitious target, to be sure. But what's the point of the hunt if your quarry can't give chase? How do you feel powerful if there's not at least a little bit of squirming? An accidental graze at first. I couldn't make it seem like I came across the room just for her. My perfect smile. She grins back and looks at her feet. Good. I walk away. Lead with the smile when I return 30 minutes later. I've waited until she's next to a bottle of liquor, so I have to reach around her just a little bit. She sees my ass. I see hers. I rest my hand on her hip as the other reaches past, offer to pour her a drink as well. The third time I engage is when she's talking to a guy who's way out of his league. I butt in, make a cross joke about him. He's dumbfounded. She's smiling behind her hand. I tell him that Rick is looking for him, and he awkwardly slinks away. This time, I put my hand around her waist, and we walk out of the room. When executed perfectly, the prey thinks it wants the snare. Something about foreplay reminds me of butter melting on a crispy waffle. Boundaries get blurred, warm, sweet, decadent between the teeth. She brushed the first feel away. The second was under her top rather than over it. I kissed behind her ear when I undid the clasp on her bra one-handed. That's the key. Give her a rush, and it's undone before she knows it. When she brushed my hand away the second time, her bra started to slip. She smiled, despite herself. Her top came off shortly after that, and yes, her tits were worth the wait. Large but grabbable, firm enough to hold their shape, soft enough to yield under a gentle caress. Nipples like chocolate candy, almost chewy. She liked the biting. She tried to hide it, but she couldn't. That's when I got up to start the camera. I said it was to turn on some music, of course. Why is Barry White the soundtrack for fucking? I never did understand the desire to hear a velvet-voiced man when I was balls deep. Whatever. It got the job done. I flicked on the music. She didn't even see what else I was doing. At any rate, no time to waste. Breaking physical contact this late in the game is dicey. Even when she's down to her panties, however, it's never a sure thing. I slid my fingers inside the cotton, but kept them along the edge of her hips. When my hand is in her panties, but away from the fun parts, it's much more effective than going straight for the kill. She breathed faster. It was working. I kept my hand in place. It had the simultaneous effect of tantalizing her and disarming her. That was the kill shot. Nothing compares to the moment when she arches her hips for a panty removal. My pulse thundered in my ears. Of course, the opposite scenario provides its own fun. You see, for most guys, there's nothing to compare with the disappointment in the moment they realize they're not going to get laid. I prefer to bypass that moment, because there's nothing to compare with the look on her face when she realizes that she is going to get laid, even if she doesn't want it. That's the best part of filming it. The dawning moments of realization are the parts I revisit the most. I have at least 36 of those moments recorded. This time, however, she goes along with a smile and no fight. Slut. She pushes me onto my back and crawls forward, a hungry glint in her eye. She crawls to the head of my bed, legs spread with one of her knees by each of my elbows, and I check, shaved or unshaved. She moves quickly. Pretty pushy skank, actually. She brings her hips to my lips, and I see... What? Definitely unshaved, but there's more. Hairy spider legs, at least a foot long, reach out from her crotch. I squirm, but her knees hold me in place with surprising force. I open my mouth to scream. Bad idea. 8 hairy, bristly legs wrap themselves around my head and caress me, almost lovingly. Her crotch is pressed firmly against my mouth, my open mouth, and something goes inside. It becomes immediately apparent that it's a stinger. Pain rips through my entire head as it pierces my tongue. I can feel the blood begin to flow down my throat. Time to throw this bitch onto the ground. But I don't. I don't move at all. I can't squirm. I can't scream. I can't do anything but watch. I realize in horror that the stinger must have been a paralytic, and it must have acted incredibly fast. I realize with equal horror that the paralytic has done absolutely nothing to diminish any sensory input. The pain in my mouth only gets more intense. I pray that I'm going to pass out. I don't pass out. I want to be away from her. I can't get away from her. Tears obscure my vision as I realize that I'm about to experience every second of what's about to happen. The legs work furiously. The bristly fur rakes my cheek. While the arachnid exoskeleton is cold, the rubbing sensation is unpleasantly warm. She slides the legs up and down my neck slowly. One leg reaches behind my ear, then slides inside of it. It has a pincer on the end. It's very sharp. 2 more legs slide through my hair. I want to moan in protest, but I can't. My mouth is full anyway. The stinger slides in and out of my tongue. The lightning bolts of pain rocket back and forth through my entire head. The legs pull tighter, like they're trying to crack a walnut. I had thought that the pain couldn't get any worse, but I was wrong. I didn't want to die in that moment. But if I'm being honest, I would have been kind of okay with it. The legs pull back, and I have a moment of hope. That moment is summarily crushed when I feel 8 pincers on my cheek. This pain is the worst imaginable. This time when the pincers dig at my yielding flesh, like a badger upturning fresh loam, I do want to die. It's impossible to tell what pieces of me are being torn apart. The pain is too great. All I know is the hurt, and there is nothing else at all. Nothing. I don't know when she stopped. Time had gotten wobbly. I just know that there was an end to things. You'd think I'd be overjoyed that it was over. But it stayed with me. Some experiences can't be left behind. Sometimes the present can't become the past. She pulled her panties back on, plucked my camera from its hiding place, and was gone. I never saw her again, but the world saw me. That video had gone viral before I regained motor control. My face, of course, was prominent. I had been looking right into the camera when I turned it on. I miss my face. That was the last time I picked up a stranger and took her home. That was the last time I went to a party. That was the last time I had sex. That was the last time I kissed a girl. No one wants to kiss the man with the hideous gummy taffy mess where a face used to be. They want to look, but never touch. Everything in my life is different now. Some things never get left in the past. They tangle themselves into who we are like musty cobwebs and only get more intertwined when we try to pry them away. It turns out that one of those things is unwanted sex. If you enjoyed that tale and would like to devour more tales by PF McGrail, do pick up a copy of the book 50 Shades of Purple and Other Horror Stories. A direct purchase link is in the episode description. To the new members of my dark family on Patreon, welcome. I do apologize, I have been very tardy on sending out thank yous and various links. Perhaps it's time I get a ghoul to assist me. Things are getting oh so very busy, but they are all going out today. Regardless though, please do know that your support is very, very much appreciated. I couldn't do this podcast without you. If you haven't yet become a member of my dark family and would like to help support this channel and podcast, go to patreon.com/LadyMcCreepster. As little as $1 a month really does go a long way. Well, my dears, that is all I have time for this evening. Till next time, sweet dreams.